Welcome back. Well, in 2016, former Wisconsin Governor Marty Schreiber wrote a book about his wife's journey with Alzheimer's disease. It's called My Two Elaines. He says he wrote the book because he wished someone had told him what to expect after she was diagnosed.
Well, 4 years, 18 states, and 30,000 books later, Marty is still on a mission to spread the word about this awful disease. In fact, the book was recently selected as a book club selection for the nonprofit Hilarity for Charity that was founded by comedian Seth Rogen and his wife, Lauren. And we are honored to be joined by Marty again today on the Morning Blend. Good to see you, Marty.
Good morning, Marty.
Yay, good morning. And I tell you, you are the first guest I've had in my home in 4.5 months. And I got up this morning at 3:30. I polished the floors. I washed the dishes. I ate everything. So welcome to my home. And what an honor for me to be on your show. And by the way, thank you for this. COVID thing is horrible. And between the two of you, your help giving some spirit and energy and enthusiasm and helping people understand that, you know, we can't do it alone. We've got to do it together and trying to help people just get through it all. So thank you for that.
Thanks,
I bet you
Marty.
never
Thanks, Marty.
performed in that kind of a role. So.
Well, it is so wonderful to see you this morning. We're so excited to have you joining us. And I want to talk a little bit about your book, because one of the things that you say is, if Alzheimer's is bad, ignorance of the disease is even worse. And I know that you wish there were a lot of things you had known or that someone would have told you when your beautiful wife was diagnosed. Tell us what you mean by about that ignorance of the disease is worse.
One has to understand that you cannot argue with this disease. And so if Elaine wants a glass of wine at 9:30 in the morning, for me to argue with her that that's an improper time, it's easier to say, well, do you want red wine or white wine? Do you want it in a large glass or smaller glass? Maybe through redirection, we can make life easier. And I have seen caregivers argue with their loved one. The point is, if Alzheimer's is bad, ignorance of the disease is worse. It's essential to know that we have to join the world of our loved one. And as long as we try and keep them in our world, it is so much more stressful, both for the caregiver as well as the person who is ill. And so if we can have more people understand this disease, it's going to be easier for people to travel this journey.
That is such an incredible point that I think so many people probably have not been able to embrace. And so what a way to tell people how to connect. You know, for you during COVID and the pandemic, you haven't been able to see Elaine, have you? How have you been doing with that?
Well, thank you for asking. I've seen her 3 times within the last 4.5 months since the end of February. And the moments that we have had together were so very, very special. She's in her own world. And sometimes people in a small world have an easier time of it than those of us in a larger world. But I know she's comfortable. I know she's well taken care of. And thank you for asking. But truly, everything that I have been able to do good in my life was because of Elaine and her help with me and all the wonderful things that she has been involved in. So, gosh, now she's in assisted living memory care for 4.5, almost 5 years, and at approximately 16 years ago when she was first diagnosed. So it's been a long journey, but that journey has helped me understand how important it is for people to know more about this disease so they can live their best life possible. And when I say best life possible, I don't only mean the patient, I also mean the caregiver, loved ones, siblings, and so on.
It was wonderful to see that video of you with her, and we appreciate Positively Milwaukee sharing that with us. I know they profiled you, which is so wonderful to get a glimpse inside. And I wonder, she was diagnosed so long ago, how often is it during that time that especially as it goes on, that she still recognizes you and that you see glimpses of the person she was? Because I think the My Two Elaines, the title's so significant because there's sort of the before diagnosis and the after.
Well, it was a tough journey, and there were moments going in and out. And one of the things I remember most was when we were having lunch a few years ago and she started to cry. And I said, Elaine, why are you crying? Well, she looked at me. She said, I'm beginning to love you more than my husband.
Oh,
Well, I didn't ask her what's wrong with your turkey husband. I didn't do that. But it proved to me that she does not have to know my name in order for our hearts to touch. And that's another lesson in all of this. And that is that the person need not be aware of current specific surroundings. It's the feeling and it's the touch and it's the smile that can make such a big difference in people's lives. But so now Elaine is, she knows I'm a friendly kind of person. I sing to her a lot, and or whenever we can get together, and that hasn't done too much damage to her listening to me sing. But it's one that helps us communicate. If I can hold her hand, and if I can sing "I Love You Truly," and then also there are smiles that make us happy. There are smiles that make us blue. There are smiles that chase away the teardrops, like the sunbeams chase away the dew. There are smiles that have a tender meaning. There are smiles that have a tender care, but the smiles that bring my heart to gladness are the smiles that you give to me. And so again, it's joining the world of the person who is ill. You can get so much satisfaction out of a smile and the holding of a hand and the touching of a heart that it compensates for so many of the other challenges that this disease brings about.
You know, Marty, I'm like tearing up. I'm crying listening to you. And I think what's so incredible about what you're saying is the power of love. And you had said, we had read this thing that somebody had said about you from Florida, that you share this terrible situation, this terrible disease, without making the audience feel sad. And I think that's what we're all feeling listening to you, is not sadness. We're feeling love. Mm-hmm. And I think that the humor that you've brought to this relationship and the ability to see the light and the love is touching hearts everywhere. What I find really special as well is that you were able to include in this next edition, or the edition that's current to the book, some of her own writings and her own thoughts and experiences of entering into Alzheimer's. How valuable have you seen or heard people respond to that in terms of understanding her own process too?
Well, I'm just about ready to go to print with the manuscript, and then I find her notes. And I never really understood until I read her notes the courage that it takes to be diagnosed with this illness and then to move forward. Never did I understand the frustrating part that she had. And when I wrote the book, it was all about me. And when I found her notes, I felt so horrible about the fact that I was just thinking about it from my perspective. And once I got an understanding of her perspective, I think I was better able to explain to caregivers how they can steal moments of joy from this disease. And it's a brutal journey. And if we can steal these moments of joy, for example, if Elaine would want to go for a walk, which walking is the best exercise for the brain, that's what the doctor prescribed. So I take Elaine for a walk. And as we were walking, she'd say, oh, look at the beautiful flower. Come on, Elaine. In my mind, my life was a half an hour for a walk. Or she said, look at the flowers. Come on, Elaine. But once I understood better about what she was going through, my goodness, for us to go for a walk and Elaine to say, let's look at that flower. What a grasping of a moment of joy that I missed out on. But hopefully, finally, I got an understanding of the importance of joining their world, of understanding that they cannot be brought back no matter. I found out that all of the Navy sailing, all of the Army's marching, all of the beer that's brewed, all of the whiskey that's distilled is not going to bring back our person. And all of those factors are not going to stop this disease. And so how can we make sure that we live our best lives possible? And that's by better understanding this disease so we can enter the life of our loved one. And very, very difficult to let go of this person who once was, so we can better embrace this person who now is. Because as long as we try to hang on to them, it's it's tough.
Marty, what an honor to chat with you this morning. You are an incredible man. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, you
Well,
have
thank you very much.
We love
Thank
talking to you. You truly have a gift. And like Tiff said, the person from Florida who identified your superpower, it's really incredible. And congratulations on being selected as one of the inaugural authors, as we mentioned, to be featured nationwide by Seth and Lauren Miller-Rogan's charity. It's Hilarity for Charity. So it's just wonderful. Thank you again so much.
Thanks, Marty.
Thank you very much.
So Hilarity for Charity is hosting a book discussion about My Two Elaines. It's happening on Monday, July 20th. It is free, but you must register. We've provided a link on our website, themorningblend.com. It will be under today's segment with Marty. You can find My Two Elaines, his book, everywhere that books are sold. But as always, we love it when you support your local bookstore.